Wendy Williams has finally broken her silence, and what she revealed is sending shockwaves through Hollywood. For years, the industry's most powerful insiders worked in the shadows, but a growing number of voices refused to stay quiet. Katt Williams, Jim Carrey, and Dave Chappelle, the biggest names in entertainment, saw this machine operating long before the rest of the world did. They sounded the alarm, warning that if you ever dared to expose the secrets of Hollywood's elite, the consequences would be total and merciless, your children targeted, your career obliterated, and your entire life dismantled piece by piece.
Is a horrible person to me. You know what I'm saying? It's the way he moves with other people. You know what I'm saying? And what's going on with these other people at my apartment in Miami? What are you doing? Oh, you spent on what? And what is going on at Wells Fargo?
According to investigators who have been poring over the newly released Epstein files, Jeffrey Epstein maintained deep, documented connections to some of the most powerful figures in Hollywood and the music industry. These were not peripheral relationships, they were strategic alliances built around power, access, and control. Among those at the center of this network was Sean Diddy Combs. The message delivered to anyone who refused to fall in line was simple and brutal: stay silent, comply, or be destroyed. What makes this even more chilling is that these elites were never hiding it. They spoke about their control over the industry almost openly, confident that no one would ever be able to stop them.
They work for us. We have the power. We decide what's hot. If we don't go, nobody goes. If we don't support, nobody supports. We control what's cool. We control what's hot. We control what your kids listen to, what they dance to. We control what's in video games. We control how they wear their pants, sag their pants. We control everything.
Hundreds of victims came forward with accounts of what it truly cost to chase a dream in Hollywood. Behind the glittering facade of fame and fortune was a brutal reality: directors, producers, and music executives who demanded that young actors and models surrender their dignity and self-worth just for a seat at the table. Harvey Weinstein, Jeffrey Epstein, and Diddy spent decades systematically exploiting underage victims, operating without consequence in an industry that was specifically architected to shield the perpetrators and bury the truth.
Had me over to the house of where these perpetrators in this ring kind of basically started. They pull me away for their threat sessions and tell me they have gaydar, they have this. At the end of the day, if you don't keep the members of this group happy, we control Hollywood, we can eliminate you, we will eliminate you. Threat after threat after threat. At the house it was, I've had put in drinks, I had liquor poured down my throat from being, where there were rules in the house of no swimsuits, no clothes out by the pool area. I was numerous times in that house by numerous individuals, various types of sex, all throughout that house. It was just something, you were like a piece of meat to these people, and they'd pass you around between them. It was, if I could define what that house was.
For over 2 decades, Wendy Williams was daytime television. She was a force of nature, sharp, unfiltered, and utterly fearless. At the absolute peak of her power, the hottest celebrities in the world dreaded walking into her orbit, because Wendy's Hot Topic segment was a weapon, and nothing was ever off the table. But behind the scenes, a different story was quietly unfolding. Long before any federal investigation was ever launched, before anyone in the media was willing to touch it, Wendy Williams already knew exactly who Diddy was, and she said so. That single act of honesty would ultimately cost her everything.
Her will, but also threatened to dismantle the Hollywood PR-ring's sinister web of coercion and control. We've got the tapes, and they're shocking. It's clear that Wendy is currently living in fear for her life. They're locking up a mentally stable woman who holds incriminating evidence against some of the world's most powerful people, and they're doing it in broad daylight in front of the entire world.
Wendy Williams is locked in a room in an assisted living facility in New York. That's her. The only way I could interview her was to have a camera in the street, because we can't get a camera in. She can't really have any visitors. She cannot go outside. She's been out twice in the last 30 days. She has no internet. She, and I think rightly, says she feels like a prisoner.
The moment Wendy Williams received a dementia diagnosis, the industry pounced. Suddenly, the woman who had fearlessly spoken truth to power was being branded as unstable, a cautionary tale, a liability, someone who simply could not be trusted. For years, she was kept confined, labeled a mental health patient, and systematically stripped of her credibility. But here is the undeniable truth that has now emerged from court-ordered medical evaluations. Wendy Williams never had dementia. The diagnosis was fabricated. It was a calculated tool of silencing, designed to erase her voice before the rest of the world started asking the same questions she had been asking for years.
Wendy's guardianship seemed to be extreme. I've spoke to her several months ago, and she just sounds like the same Wendy. Yes, is she quirky? Sure. Is she eccentric? Sure. She always has been.
And now a new revelation. Her team says a new medical evaluation ordered by Wendy's court-appointed legal team, finding she does not have frontotemporal dementia.
She does not have frontal lobar dementia. So that should be game set.
The confirmation came from someone who was in the room, Jean Deal, Diddy's own former bodyguard. According to Deal, it was Diddy who personally orchestrated the destruction of Wendy Williams' career. He launched a coordinated smear campaign against her, blacklisted her across the industry, pressured every major network and production company to close their doors, and then engineered a false medical diagnosis that landed her in a facility. This was not a coincidence. This was a calculated, deliberate act of revenge carried out by a man who had the power and the connections to make it happen.
Understand about Puff is that he held the entertainment grip, especially for the people who was his former artists, in a chokehold. If you didn't do what he say do, if he didn't like you, you would never ever work for Bad Boy or anybody in the entertainment business again. He did it to Kirk Burroughs. You understand? He did it to Wendy Williams. He did it to a lot of people, bruh. So now her going back is just wanted to get food on her table, keep a roof over her head. Because nobody was probably telling her, yo, I can't work with you. I can't deal with you unless Puff say so. I'm not gonna work with you. I'm not gonna do anything, because they didn't want to make him mad, because he had enough power in the business to stop.
What happened to Wendy Williams was not an isolated incident, it was a page from a well-worn playbook. Katt Williams had sounded this exact alarm years before anyone was ready to listen. He stood in public and warned the world that the moment you dare to expose Hollywood's elite, the entire machine turns against you. And the retaliation wasn't limited to career destruction. The moment Katt Williams began naming Hollywood figures as predators and exposing the sex trafficking networks operating within the industry, law enforcement started showing up at his door. He was arrested repeatedly. He was harassed. And in the most personal act of intimidation imaginable, they came for his children.
Okay, you cool, man? How you doing?
I'm cooler than a fan, man. They took my children from me.
Yeah, I mean,
how terrible is that?
I did want to ask. The cops, allegedly found some guns and.
Yeah, they always find guns. I never leave without my girlfriend. I'm on the middle of an interview, sir.
Sorry about. They found guns and drugs. Now, that's what it was reported.
Sir, you can look at my paperwork. There was no drug. Weed is not a drug.
Yeah. I mean, do you think that's safe for kids to be around guns and stuff like that? I mean, I'm just curious.
How do you keep this kids safe without guns? They were in a lockbox that the police broke.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I'm saying, if the police come in and raid my place and break into my gun boxes, you're gonna find guns. But these aren't. Well, I'm not in a gang. What difference does it make?
Now, you were actually stopped for this and let go. Because you have a license for it,
No,
right?
This is their 9th time coming to my house. The problem was this time they came to my office and took my kids from an office. Not from my house, from an office. So now when I can't have my kids at my office,
that's an issue.
I must be
the
most terrible black dude. Because here's the whole thing. You gonna charge me with child endangerment? after I adopted 7 children and had them for 14 years in this state? Really? You coming after my kids now? Because it was already a witch hunt. Now you want my babies? Yeah.
This is the full scope of what these elites are capable of. Speak out, and you face arrest. Your bank accounts get frozen. Your career evaporates overnight. Even Jeffrey Epstein, a man who agreed to cooperate and identify the most powerful clients in his network, found himself placed inside the most fortified federal prison facility in the entire United States of America. Think about what that takes. Think about whose phone calls had to be made, whose orders had to be followed, to place a high-profile cooperating witness in a cell inside America's most secure lockup. That is not coincidence. That is power on a scale most people refuse to believe exists.
Explain to us exactly what happened with the guardianship here, and from your perspective, as someone who's now written about this and studied guardianships, does it make sense in this context?
Well, it follows a pattern. Let me put it that way. You explained it very well.
The claims that were once dismissed as conspiracy theories are now appearing in black and white inside official government documents. Both Epstein and Diddy were not simply predators operating independently. They were active participants in a larger supply network, feeding victims to clients who operated at the very top of global power structures. What is deeply disturbing is that despite court documents confirming that both men exploited and trafficked young women, Epstein's full client list was never published. Diddy's surveillance footage was never released to the public. Not a single name from either network was officially charged. The protection these men received did not come from luck. It came from the very people they were serving.
Body is a supplier. Epstein, Weinstein, like these guys knew what these extremists liked and provided it, and provided the way for you to to have $1 billion and not create a fantasy island type environment has not existed throughout history.
Right. I mean, if I was going to run some global power organization, I would try to co-opt every single leader, try to suck them in, offer support, bring them out to wherever I have my big-ass meetings, fly everybody in private jets to talk about the climate crisis.
All organizations have to follow the same rules.
Yeah, that's wild.
Recruitment is an important facet of all.
We have to get some young global leaders.
Well, understand, this is the only reason that we can talk about these big Illuminati-like entities at this period of time. It's just because of time. Like, they aged out. Like, you can't get in new, so everybody got decrepit over there, and they can't exchange.
Investigators have confirmed that Jeffrey Epstein was not communicating with his clients in plain language. Buried inside the newly released Epstein files are over 52 coded references that, when examined in context, point unmistakably toward crimes against children. Phrases like beef jerky, pizza, white whale, and grape soda appear repeatedly in emails between Epstein and powerful individuals, used in contexts where their literal meaning makes absolutely no logical sense. Forensic language experts later reviewed these communications and concluded that these terms were almost certainly euphemisms for something far darker. This was a network that operated in plain sight, hiding its crimes behind a vocabulary designed to be invisible to anyone who wasn't already inside.
The base, the code words in the emails, literal emails of Epstein and Bill Gates, like these are known entities starting to talk about jerky. And then they're talking about the intestines of babies. They're talking about cream cheese. Like, I welcome anyone to prove me wrong, because I hoped to fucking hell this is not true. But when we mentioned jerky, that was the more elite meat is what I'm interpreting this as. There were emails from people, redacted names again, saying, hey, I have 68 pounds of jerky in my freezer. I'm not sure what to do with it. There were emails of, I need more jerky. I'm going to send it to the lab. When he knew they were coming after him, they knew they were going to come arrest him. He ordered 330 gallons of sulfuric acid, which is
what?
Which is how you would dispose
right.
of. And there are mentions, and now Congress is actually speaking about it. They did this week, spoke about Zorro Ranch and how there's so many mentions of bury them in Zorro Ranch, leave them in Zorro Ranch. And now that's 7,000 acres of land that Jeffrey Epstein owns in New Mexico. And it's actively working right now. And then just to add to that, the chef that was making the jerky, that was sending recipes, that was on the island, was Francis Derby.
Who's that?
Francis Derby owns the restaurant Camp.
What?
Yes.
Wait, there's a restaurant called
Cooking.
Is it
Now-
actual camp? No, it can't be. That'd be illegal. He'd be shut down.
But
right.
is it so tongue-in-cheek? Did they think they were so fucking smart that they...
The emails make one thing devastatingly clear. Hollywood's wealthiest and most powerful were not strangers to Epstein's Zorro Ranch in New Mexico. They were regulars. The property has now become the focus of an active federal investigation following deeply disturbing reports that the remains of 2 young foreign girls may be buried somewhere on the 7,600-acre estate. A retired New Mexico State police officer, whose identity has been protected, filed a formal report with the FBI confirming that he personally witnessed a steady stream of high-profile visitors at the ranch over an extended period of time. The FBI received that report. And for years, they did nothing.
Look inside Jeffrey Epstein's Zorro Ranch in our state through some new photos. Epstein and his estate owned the Santa Fe County property until 2023. That's when former Texas State Senator Donald Huffines bought it. Now, these new photos of the property are from an insurance company, and they were taken when Epstein was still alive. I mean, you can see just how big the property is. Multiple offices, cabins, barns, buildings. I mean, look at the large pool inside. Then you have a great room right there with that huge chandelier. At the time, there was also a fire truck, tanker, and trailer on the property, as well as a firehouse and storage facility. Meanwhile, there is a growing memorial on the property's outskirts paying tribute to Epstein's victims and survivors.
I can't imagine what they had to endure. I wanted everybody to know that New Mexico was strong and that we would represent these victims, living victims, survivors.
To fully grasp the depth of what was happening at Epstein's Zorro Ranch, consider this single staggering detail. On the very day of his federal indictment, Epstein placed an order for 330 gallons of sulfuric acid. Social media investigators have since pieced together a disturbing picture, trapdoors, orders for 50 human teeth, dental equipment, a dentist chair, and the same chemical used industrially to dissolve organic matter. Forensic experts have stated that the scale and timing of these orders point to something far beyond standard property maintenance. The question law enforcement must now answer is not whether crimes were committed at that ranch, but how many victims took a one-way trip there and never came home.
Craziest ones. The day he was indicted in 2018, the very next day, he ordered 330 gallons of sulfuric acid.
What?
Yes. He ordered 6 55-gallon drums of sulfuric acid to be delivered to the island. And so there was a lot of people online saying, oh, that was probably for his desalination plant. It's probably like a regular thing they need to order. So then someone else did a deep dive and said, no, this is the first time this was ever ordered.
Check that again. I thought there was 2 other ones.
Oh, there was 2 other orders?
2017 and 2015.
Oh, so that guy was
Could have been
wrong.
the first one from that company, potentially.
Ah, that makes sense. So maybe it was for this desalination equipment. But also, that's a lot of sulfuric acid. You know, if I needed 5 gallons for my desalination equipment, but 239 gallons or whatever it is to burn, to get rid of bodies.
Kind of hard to think of any other use for acid, just in general. Right?
Immediately,
So
you think.
Immediately.
Yeah. The other orders, were they that large? Because here's the other thing. How long has it been killing people? How long have they been boiling bodies to get rid of them? I mean, if you do have, for lack of better words, let's call it a service, where you allow rich people from foreign governments or whatever, you set it up. I can give you whatever you want.
Right.
Like what I want to do is
Wendy Williams and Katt Williams were not alone. As we pull back the curtain on what truly operates behind Hollywood's gilded image, another name emerges: Jim Carrey, a man who spent decades at the absolute top of the entertainment world, earning Golden Globe nominations and becoming one of the most recognizable faces on the planet, only to publicly walk away and declare the entire machine hollow and devoid of meaning. Carrey didn't just leave Hollywood, he began exposing it. He called the industry a distraction, a system built on illusions, and made it clear he no longer had any interest in participating in the performance.
You're wandering the streets, you need a date to the party? What's up?
No. I'm doing just fine. I just, there's no meaning to any of this. So I wanted to find the most meaningless thing that I could come to and join, and here I am.
They're celebrating.
You got to admit it's completely meaningless.
Well, they say they're celebrating icons inside.
Celebrating
Do you believe
icons,
in
boy, that is just the absolute lowest aiming, possibility that we could come up with. It's like icons. Do you believe in icons? I don't believe in personalities. I don't believe that you exist, but there is a wonderful fragrance in the air.
You don't believe certain icons have the power to make change, to think differently, to be bold, to inspire others? Artistry, you're one of them.
On the good foot. Ha! Yeah. You shut it down now. Yeah, no, I don't believe in icons. I don't believe in personalities. I believe that peace lies beyond personality, beyond invention and disguise, beyond the red S that you wear on your chest that makes bullets bounce off. I believe that it's deeper than that. I believe we're a field of energy dancing for itself. And I don't care.
But Jim, you got really dressed up for the occasion. You look good.
No,
Was that an accident?
I didn't get dressed up.
Who did?
There is no me.
There's no you.
No.
We're not here.
If you were still searching for proof that the billionaires entangled with Hollywood were themselves operating under threat and coercion, consider what happened when Lex Wexner, long suspected of sitting at the very top of Epstein's network, appeared in a deposition. His own attorney was caught on a live microphone delivering a chilling message. Answer this question, and we will kill you. This was not a metaphor. This was a threat, issued in a legal proceeding, on a hot mic, to one of the wealthiest men in America. It tells you everything about who is really in control, and confirms that even the men at the top of the pyramid are themselves afraid of what lies above them.
We got to have an inventory. Then there was I hired a lady to be like the house manager who had run the U.S. Embassy in Rome, and she said, yeah, I know how to do this. And I said, well, why don't we keep inventories of stuff? And she said, well, yeah, I could do that. So she did that. That's kind of a puny example, but I wouldn't have had the idea. But then all the things were inventoried. That wasn't work for me or Jeffrey. It was just regularly done. Answer not the question. It's okay.
Wendy Williams is fighting back. She is now actively challenging the conservatorship that has kept her isolated, controlled, and cut off from the outside world. According to those close to her, Wendy has stated clearly and coherently that she is being held against her will. A widely circulated statement captures the sentiment of thousands of supporters. Wendy Williams built an empire with her bare hands. And now, she is trapped inside a system that is systematically failing her. Guardianship abuse is real. And what is happening to Wendy Williams is one of the most public and documented examples of it in modern American history.
Our recent events have been unbelievable. Talk about it.
We came back from dinner, and apparently police were called. But I was told that at some point, police were called because the coterie here was saying allegedly that I took my aunt from this facility and whisked her away without any sort of confirmation or approval, which according to everything that we have learned in terms of this whole situation, wondering exactly how that correlates with the statements that the Guardian has made, that Wendy is able to come and go as she pleases,
Right.
and that there are no family visits that are blocked.
Clearly, they are lying to me when they say I can go out and do what I want to do. This is my niece, Alex. She just flew in from Miami, okay? I just came from the hospital. So we are going out to celebrate. You know what I'm saying? Celebrate what? I don't know. I'm from the hospital. You know what I'm saying? And
So the question that now hangs over everything is this. If voices as loud and as powerful as Wendy Williams could be pushed aside, buried, silenced, and discredited, how many others were erased before the world ever had a chance to hear them? The pattern is undeniable. The evidence is mounting. And the system that was built to protect the powerful is beginning to crack under the weight of what it has tried so hard to hide. The story is far from over. What do you believe is really happening behind the curtain in Hollywood? The truth may be even bigger than any of us are prepared to face.